I'm going to read a story called Athlete, which was published in a book called Trapped, Cages of Mind and Body, originally published in 1997. He makes for shore. From above, he is a dark bobbin cutting through the silk of the sea. There is only a head, turning regularly as he takes in air. Then, landfall. Heaving himself up on the sand, athlete on the strand. Greek, but blonde as Croesus's gold, now that the morning light sees more of him. He shakes out his hair and rests his hands on his knees, bent over for a minute, gasping. The water runs off his limbs and muscles. He is dry almost at once, but for his hair. The word athlete serves better than the words adolescent or teenager or young adult. Athlete, from the Greek, derived from athlein, to contend for a prize, derived more distantly from athlon, meaning both contest and prize. It is when you're young, when you're not yet old, that you struggle to win, that you enter the contest, find your footing against your adversary, set yourself against an opponent, the better to know who you might yourself be. It is when you are young, also, that you are itself the prize, though the price of learning this is age. He knots a cloth about his hips, not from modesty, but to protect himself from the brambles that clutch the hillside. The island has risen out of the sea and given itself to the athlete. It has no problem providing the length of cloth. It would generate a sword and a shield for such a specimen of man were it needed. But Theseus is young enough to be without that need yet. With head thrown back, he drinks in the air. The grumps in his muscles relax. He moves forward across the sand to the pebbly verge, and thence up into the brush, up into destiny. Youth, being youth, has no past or future. Theseus has forgotten his earlier adventures. He has almost forgotten the 6 other young men who form part of the sacrificial offering sent annually to King Minos of Crete. They are behind, in a ship he has slipped from. He sprang overboard, not to escape his fate, but to meet it earlier. Legend says that the young victims are led into a maze and left there to wander, searching for an exit they never find. They die of starvation and broken hopes. Or, a worse fate, they are met by the Minotaur and devoured. So glad you could drop by for dinner. The Minotaur has not yet been deified by Renaissance painters or trivialized into a Disney cartoon character. Maybe the victims have seen a few scratches of white line on a black field, curving about the edge of an amphora. A creature with the limbs of an athlete and the head of a bull. Maybe they have recognized it. The beast in the labyrinth. You see it most clearly, if you see it at all, on the dangerous threshold of a dream. The candle has been blown out, or the wick snuffed. The night has snuggled in to lie with you in your blankets. The day, with its particular difficult perfection, recedes. Just before you sleep, you may catch the thud of hoof on stone, near, oh, nearer than can be possible. The hot, meaty breath on your shoulder blade. Your limbs twitch You start. You think someone has said your name. No one is there, and the no one is the Minotaur. It is as close as most of us come, but Theseus, bravest hero of sunrise Athens, comes nearer, makes for the labyrinth, which stands in walls of stone and cruel, unimpenetrable thicket on the fiercest brow of Crete. Like a crown, like a granite headache, like a tombstone. He pauses halfway, not to catch his breath, but to look about. This is the world, acres of heaving turquoise fields, sprouting white froth of blossoms, across whose impermanent furrows ride the ships of Attica. The sky above is crystalline and frangible. For every night, stars puncture it, and the gods reappear in their starry outlines. The islands of the Cyclades, footfalls of an older goddess, still tremble with her passing. The future is a thin line between the sky and the sea. It is called a horizon, and it is always there and never here. Theseus catches sight of the boat moving into the harbor. The other 6 sacrificial victims drawing themselves to their fate in strokes of oar that beat wrinkles of light into the water just gone clear by the mirrored backing of the sandy floor just offshore. He turns again and sees the maiden on the cliff. She must always be the daughter of the goddess, because she is as beautiful in her way as Theseus is in his. She is also the daughter of the king, King Minos of Crete, at whose command these blood sports commence. She is Ariadne. If Theseus is sculpted, muscle, and its rub of skin showing marble what to hunger to be if it cannot be mute and buried in the earth, then Ariadne is scalloped. She is a series of parallel abbreviations. The folds of her tunic caress the folds of her shoulders, her breasts, and her strong, soft limbs. She is drop-dead gorgeous, knockout time, no two ways about it. And stories about her can survive a lapse in elevated tone, for the thing that she is, arresting beauty, endures once it is met, in much the same folds of the mind that also conceal the Minotaur. Theseus draws nearer. She meets his level gaze with her own. The wind that will one day drive the 10,000 windmills in the valley of the same name now drives her hair about her face. She is dark where he is fair. She is coal and shadow of royal porphyry. He is gold and ivory. There is a sudden detonation, like a flare-up of a corona around the sun. The thing that happens there on that hill is only cheapened by the name of love. At least, love in its modern dime store sense. It is instead a different kind of sacrifice. A mutual amazement, a giving up and taking in. It is, in its way, a conquest and a prize for both of them. It is religion without past or future. Ariadne, unbound. Theseus, with both hands gripping the horizon before him. To save him from the beast, she hands him a ball of thread. Why the thread? Why, airy muscle of flax, spun into a line as thin as the horizon? Thread is the thing that you cannot drag across the sea from horizon to learn your way back. It is the early form of the breadcrumbs that Hansel and Gretel drop to learn their way back. Theseus kisses Ariadne, and she kisses him, and the ball of string passes from her hand to his. The other youths are now landed on the beach and beginning to find their way up the hillside. Theseus is to save them, and himself, and all future victims of the beast. He is to do it soon, before his companions meet up with Ariadne and claim her for their own, or she them. He would not put it past them, nor blame her. But he cannot wait for it to happen. He must go forward and meet his fate and change theirs. The labyrinth. A gate of groaning iron on dark, hammered hinges. It opens with a sucking sound, a throb as of the ventricle of an organ, the tightened ring of a muscle. And Theseus, with his sword in hand, there has come a sword to hand, as there will, unbidden, passes through. Twisting corridors, branching alleys, everywhere a grandeur of dusk, the stench of the dead, the rot, the dust, the coldness. Here and there, ellipses of snow run up into the corners of dead ends, where even light has been trapped and so expired. The dark, of course, a kind of dark that lives within the atoms of light, light's dark core. The sound as of seashells, the wind in the stony volutes of the maze, twisting, airy, atonal chords. Here is a knucklebone, half chewed. Here, a scrap of white linen with gold embroidery, the key design, locking in regular steps, just to where the fabric is ripped and edged with the black of dried blood. The cord unwinds as Theseus proceeds. He winds it back up when he finds a cul-de-sac. He moves ahead by instinct, not logic. There is an easy solution to mazes. Always keep to the left. Or is it the right? This solution, however, presumes the universe is built on a certain design, and that presumption has not yet arisen in the world. And instinct works better than logic for the athlete. There is the sound of, or what is it? Hoofbeats, like heartbeats, like the beat of the wings of carrion crows, rotating nearer, dissolving away. The light begins to ebb in distinctive pulses, like an oil lamp flickering through its last lick of fuel. Theseus wades through runnels of dark as he waded that last bit of sea coming naked onto the beach. He is naked now, but for his sword and the ball of string. And an odor of boiling marrow in a corroding iron cauldron. And the fear that dries the last of the ocean's damp from his brow, and his hair is now gold leaf, flamed with the force of his intention. And the grunt, nearby, of a darker intention, and a sound that is a hybrid, part chuckle, part groan. A hybrid as the Minotaur is a hybrid, part man, part bull. And the last corner turned, and the string run out, and the Minotaur there in the dark. Moving up nearer, snuggling in to lie in your blankets, to lay its hot breath on your shoulder, to snort just beyond your peripheral vision, and to disappear when you turn to see, up on your elbows, you start to consciousness. But Theseus is athlete. He is both contest and prize. And the Minotaur needs to be killed, or Theseus will never be able to take the story out of the maze. And then we will never know precisely what it is that groans at us from the corner of our sleep. The beast makes its rush. Whose heart is beating so loud? The sword flashes in the gloom. The roar is cut down in separate, stuttering syllables. The rage of tempest breath is reworked into glottal stops. The muscle relaxes. The backbone arches first back, then forward. The bull's head throbs and nods, and the horns, that are nearly talons, nearly ring round like manacles, make a musical sound as they strike against the floor of the labyrinth. There is a death in the chamber, death with its own particular perfection. But Theseus has not lost his string, so he cannot lose his way. Ariadne waits. The Minotaur is over. But the snow in the corner is melting, and the light is returning, and the light falls onto the pool of water, onto the smallest slice of inland sea caught there in a hollow in the floor. And a trick of the light catches his eye, and he waits and kneels to look. He should not kneel. He should not look. But, in a way, there is no choice. The pool at the center of the labyrinth is not just melted snow, he sees. It is ringed with thick strings of the blood of the beast. It is a pattern of maze, the dark and the light, the red viscous opacity, and the clear silvery threads ineluctably entwined. He cannot see himself through the red, but in the silver he sees his reflection in narrow crescents and wheels, and he kneels to look. Kneels and feels the ache in a muscle in his back. Kneels and takes a steadying hold on his sword for balance. The golden crown of hair falls across his brow, and he can make out the stump of a knob and another, the start of bull's horns. The sound that escapes is the kind of bellow that only those without language